Hey everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. We love to get a little geeky, and today we're going to tackle some fun stuff, English idioms.
Oh, very good.
We found this list of 25 common idioms, and it'll be interesting to see what we can learn about them and how we can use them like a pro, right?
Right. I think, idioms are so interesting because they really get at the culture. You often can't translate them directly, which is what makes them so tricky for language learners.
They are tricky, I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, but they really say a lot about, the way that a culture thinks and expresses itself.
Okay, so we're not just learning vocabulary, we're doing a deep dive into cultural understanding.
That's right, yeah.
That's awesome. What do we have first?
So let's start with one that I thought was interesting, and this one really kind of paints a picture. Raining cats and dogs.
Raining cats and dogs, that's a good one. Okay, so imagine you're in England, it's pouring rain. Nobody's actually tossing animals out the window, right?
No, and there are a lot of theories about where this comes from, and nobody knows for sure. But my favorite one is that back in the day when houses used to have thatched roofs, sometimes when it rained really hard, animals, cats and dogs, would actually fall out of the roofs.
So it's really about seeking shelter and not dodging furry creatures.
Exactly.
It makes me think about other animal idioms like let the cat out of the bag, for example. Are these just random animals or is there a deeper connection?
That's a great question, and I think that the connection is that they're not really about animals, right?
Yeah.
These are both really strong metaphors, and letting the cat out of the bag means revealing a secret, maybe accidentally.
Right, like oops.
Yeah, exactly. You weren't supposed to say that, but there it is. The cat's out of the bag.
Okay, so it's less about the critters and more about that feeling or situation that everybody understands. It's a shortcut almost to a shared understanding, right?
Exactly, and I think that gets at why idioms are so important,
Hmm.
which is that they really are about grasping the culture. They're not just about knowing the vocabulary. It's knowing how to use the language the way that native speakers would.
So I want to sound natural. I need to work on my idioms.
Yes, definitely. But, of course, you want to make sure you're choosing the right idiom for the situation, right?
Mhm.
For example, bite your tongue doesn't actually mean that you should bite your tongue.
No, no biting, although sometimes it feels like that's what you want to do.
Right.
So bite your tongue really means to hold back from saying something you'll regret later.
Exactly. Exactly. So, think before you speak, maybe take a breath. Don't say the thing you'll regret later. And we actually see this theme, this sort of emphasis on being careful about what you say. We see this in a lot of idioms. For example, button your lip.
Oh, button your lip.
Yeah, and that's interesting because it does suggest that that this culture values composure and thinking before you speak.
So there are clues, these idioms, they give us a peek into a culture's values, how they express themselves, almost like a secret language within a language.
That's a great way to put it.
It's cool. All right, what else do we have?
Um, okay, so how about this one? And this one's a little bit, well, you tell me what you think. Kick the bucket.
Kick the bucket. I mean, that's a little dark.
It is a little dark, right?
Yeah.
And it is interesting because for listeners, this is a euphemism for death. And sometimes it's used with humor, sometimes not. But either way, it's got some pretty dark origins.
Okay, tell me more.
Some people think that it comes from well, back in the day, people would commit suicide by standing on an overturned bucket. And
Okay. A little morbid. But I get it. Even difficult topics need a way to be expressed. So we have animal metaphors, euphemisms. What really ties it all together?
You know what I think it is? I think that what all these idioms do is they make a language come alive. It's not just, reading words in a textbook. This is how people actually talk.
Yeah, that's so true.
And so, instead of just saying, it's raining heavily, you can say, it's raining cats and dogs. And it just makes the language so much more fun, so much more interesting.
And memorable.
Right, exactly.
It's a great point. It makes me wonder about other languages. So, to our listeners, I challenge you to think about your own native languages. What are some common idioms you use? And what do they say about your culture?
That's a great question.
I think that's a great place to stop. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into English idioms. This was fun.
Yes, definitely.
We'll catch you next time.